First Contact and Misconceptions. The Zaxian Confederation's flagship Eternal Glory hung against the backdrop of distant stars, its crystalline hull refracting light in complex patterns that had inspired awe in countless lesser species. High Commander Vexthor stood at his command post, his iridescent scales shifting through shades of deep blue that reflected his satisfaction. The ship's sensors had detected 3 vessels of unknown origin approaching the edge of Confederation space, and Vexthor was eager to demonstrate the superiority of Zaxian civilization to yet another primitive race. Status report, he commanded, his translator converting the melodic tones of High Zaxian into the standard galactic frequency. Unknown vessels approaching at sublight speed, Commander, reported First Officer Keela. Configuration doesn't match any known species in our database. They appear to be remarkably simple in design. The vessels in question were indeed unusual, smooth, almost featureless silver-gray hulls with minimal external features. They looked almost primitive compared to the organic crystalline architecture of Zaxian ships. Vexthor's scales rippled with amusement. Another opportunity to demonstrate Zaxian magnificence to an underdeveloped species. Open communications, he ordered. Let us enlighten these newcomers about their place in the galaxy. The holoscreen materialized before him, revealing the human face. The alien was peculiarly smooth-skinned, with no scales or bioluminescence to speak of. It wore what appeared to be a simple white uniform with minimal decoration. This is Captain Sarah Chen of the Earth exploration vessel Curiosity, the alien announced calmly. We come in peace and wish to establish diplomatic relations. Vexthor's scales shifted to a commanding purple. Unknown vessels, you have entered the domain of the Zaxian Confederation, the most advanced civilization in the known galaxy. We have guided countless species to enlightenment over 10,000 years. Prepare your vessels for inspection and integration into our superior culture. There was a pause, and then something unprecedented happened. The human's face broke into what Vexthor would later learn was called a smile. I'm sorry, Captain Chen said, trying to maintain composure, but did you just suggest that we need your guidance to achieve enlightenment? Our civilization has mastered quantum-fold technology, achieved perfect social harmony, and created works of art that span entire star systems, Vexthor declared proudly. Surely you can recognize your own primitive state in comparison. A new voice joined the conversation as another human appeared on screen. Captain Chen, should I tell them about the zero-point energy reactor we're using to power the coffee maker in the crew lounge? Vexthor's scales flickered in confusion. Coffee maker? Oh yes, Chen replied casually. Can't explore space without decent coffee. Speaking of which, would you care to join us? We just finished testing our new matter replication system, and it makes an excellent cappuccino. First Officer Keela leaned close to Vexthor. Sir, our sensors, they're having trouble penetrating their hull. The energy readings are impossible. Vexthor's scales began shifting rapidly between colors. Impossible. Show them the might of our weapons. Target their smallest vessel with the quantum lance. The Eternal Glory's primary weapon charge, threads of quantum energy weaving together before launching toward the human ship. The beam, capable of reducing most vessels to their component atoms, splashed harmlessly against an invisible barrier. Oh, Captain Chen said, looking down at something off-screen. Was that weapons fire? Sorry, we were adjusting our defense screen's power consumption to optimize the holodeck's performance. The crew's children are watching historical documentaries about Earth's oceans. The bridge of the Eternal Glory fell silent. Vexthor stared at his sensor readings, then at the human ships, then at his trembling hands. His scales had faded to a pale, uncertain gray. I will need to consult with the High Council, he managed to say. Take your time, Chen replied warmly. We'll be here. And seriously, the offer of coffee stands. We also have something called chocolate chip cookies that tend to be a big hit at first contact meetings. As the communication ended, Vexthor could hear genuine laughter from the human ships. He slumped in his command chair, his scales now a deep shade of humility. Perhaps he realized the Zaxian Confederation still had much to learn about the galaxy and its inhabitants. After all, what kind of civilization could be truly primitive if they had mastered the art of making the perfect cappuccino while their children studied history in artificial environments? Maybe, just maybe, it was time for the Zaxians to be the students rather than the teachers. Would you like me to continue with part 2 of the story? The Grand Challenge. The High Council's response was swift and predictable. Within hours, 5 more Zaxian vessels had arrived, their crystalline hulls forming a shimmering array around the eternal glory. High Counselor Zixra herself had taken command of the situation, her scales radiating the deep crimson of absolute authority. These humans must be taught their place in the cosmic order, she declared over the fleet's command channel. We shall issue the 3 trials of superiority. No species has ever matched our achievements in these domains. Vexthor's scales flickered with uncertainty. Counselor, I must advise caution. These humans, they're different. Nonsense. Zixra dismissed his concern. Open communications with their vessels. Captain Chen's face appeared on the holoscreen, this time while apparently enjoying a steaming beverage. Hello again. I see you've brought friends. We were just about to start our weekly intership chess tournament. Would your crew like to join? Zixra stepped into view, her ceremonial robes shifting with programmed patterns of light. Human vessels, we challenge you to the 3 trials of superiority. First, a demonstration of computational prowess. Second, a display of energy manipulation. Third, a test of cultural achievement. Oh, a contest. Chen took another sip from her mug. That sounds fun. Though I should warn you, my ship's AI gets quite competitive at games. EVA, would you like to handle the computational challenge? A melodic voice responded through the communication channel. Of course, Captain. Though I'll have to multitask. I'm currently helping the children design their own solar systems in the physics lab. The first trial began immediately. The Zaxians transmitted their most complex encryption protocol, one that had taken their best systems 3 days to crack. EVA responded in less than a second. Interesting algorithm, the AI commented, though you might want to update your quantum encryption standards. They're a bit vintage. I've taken the liberty of sending you some suggestions for improvements. Zixra's scales paled slightly, but she pressed on. The second trial, then. Demonstrate your mastery of energy manipulation. Oh, perfect timing. Chen smiled. Dr. Kumar was just about to test our new stellar engineering array. Doctor, would you mind? A new human appeared on screen, adjusting what appeared to be simple transparent eyewear. Not at all, Captain. I've been wanting to try out the solar sculpting feature. Kids, watch carefully. This is how we stabilize a protostar. The human's smallest vessel emitted a barely visible beam toward a nearby unstable star. Within minutes, the star's erratic fluctuations smoothed out, its core stabilizing into a perfect fusion reaction. Dr. Kumar beamed with professional pride while making notes on a floating holographic display. We usually use this for helping developing civilizations manage their dying stars, he explained casually. Though the children also enjoy using a scaled-down version to make plasma art in the science lab. Zixra's scales had shifted to a pale blue of disbelief. The third trial. Surely you cannot match our cultural achievements. Our crystal songs have moved entire species to tears. Cultural exchange. Wonderful. Chen brightened. We're actually hosting an interspecies art exhibition next week. Our ship's gallery has pieces from 20 different civilizations. Plus, the kids' finger painting display is really coming along nicely. Oh, and you simply must hear our ship's core. They've learned to sing in 4-dimensional harmonies. At that moment, the sound of children's laughter echoed through the communication channel, followed by what could only be described as music that existed in more spatial dimensions than the Zaxians could perceive. Several crystal panels on the Zaxian ships cracked in resonance. My apologies, EVA interjected. The children got excited and activated the quantum harmonic synthesizer again. I've adjusted the dimensional parameters to avoid damaging your lovely ships. Zixra stood silent, her scales cycling through colors so rapidly they appeared white. First Officer Keelub leaned toward Vexthor and whispered, "Sir, I believe the humans have been letting their children play with technology more advanced than our most sophisticated research projects." "Indeed," Vexthor replied quietly, "and they appear to be serving hot beverages while doing so." Finally, Zixra found her voice. This is unprecedented. No species has ever. Why are you using technology that could reshape stars to make children's art?" Captain Chen smiled warmly. "Why not? Art, science, exploration. It's all about learning and growing. Speaking of which, those cookies I mentioned earlier just came out of the matter replication oven. Would you like to continue this discussion over coffee and dessert? Our hydroponics bay has a lovely view of the nebula." As the Zaxian leadership struggled to process their new reality, a small voice came through the channel. "Captain Chen, can we show the aliens our zero-gravity water park? We added rainbow quantum bubbles." And that was how the mighty Zaxian Confederation learned that true advancement might not lie in the demonstration of power, but in the joy of using it to make children laugh. Would you like me to continue with Part 3? Crisis and Cooperation. Crisis and Cooperation. The cultural exchange between humans and Zaxians was interrupted by an urgent transmission from EVA. "Captain Chen, I'm detecting a quantum anomaly forming at the edge of the system. Initial readings suggest it's similar to a Class 9 spacetime rupture." The playful atmosphere on both fleets shifted instantly to focused alertness. Captain Chen set down her coffee mug, her expression serious but calm. "Details, EVA. The anomaly is growing exponentially. At current rates, it will destabilize the local spacetime fabric within 6 hours. I'm detecting unusual particle signatures. This may be artificial in origin." High Counselor Zixra's scales shifted to emergency crimson. "Impossible. Only a catastrophic failure of quantum-fold technology could cause such a disturbance. No known species would be so reckless." Actually, Dr. Kumar adjusted his glasses, studying the holographic data streaming around him. These signatures matched theoretical models of illegal quantum mining operations. Someone's been harvesting vacuum energy without proper containment protocols. Vexthor's scales paled. "The Krex Raiders. They've been spotted in nearby systems, but we never imagined they'd attempt something this dangerous. The anomaly will consume this entire sector," Zixra announced grimly. "We must evacuate immediately. Our ships can carry your crews to safety. Or," Chen interjected, "we could stop it." The Zaxians stared at her in disbelief. Zixra's scales flickered between confusion and concern. "Captain, even our most advanced theories suggest this type of quantum rupture is irreversible once it begins." "Dr. Kumar," Chen turned to her science officer, "remember that paper you were working on about quantum knot theory?" Kumar's eyes lit up. "The one about using twisted spacetime filaments to cancel out dimensional instabilities. It's still theoretical, but EVA, could you run a quick simulation?" "Already on it, Doctor," the AI responded. "Using our gravitic manipulators in concert with the Zaxians' crystal resonance technology, we have a 73.4% chance of success, though we'll need precise coordination between all ships." Chen turned back to the Zaxians. "Your crystal ships can generate quantum harmonic fields, correct? If we combine that with our gravitic technology, we might be able to contain and neutralize the anomaly. But we'll need to work together." For a moment, the Zaxian leaders were silent. Then Vexthor stepped forward, his scales shifting to a determined gold. "The Zaxian Confederation offers its full cooperation. Captain Chen, tell us what you need." What followed was a flurry of activity that would have seemed impossible hours earlier. Human engineers worked alongside Zaxian crystal shapers, merging technologies that had developed along entirely different paths. Dr. Kumar's theoretical calculations streamed to every ship while EVA coordinated the precise positioning of the fleet. The human children have been safely moved to the internal shielded sections, Kayla reported, though they're insisting on watching the proceedings through the quantum imaging system. They're calling it the best science lesson ever. As the anomaly grew to frightening proportions, casting strange lights across the hulls of both fleets, the combined forces of humanity and the Zaxian Confederation moved into position. The crystalline ships began to pulse with harmonic energies, while the human vessels projected invisible fields of twisted spacetime. On my mark, Chen commanded, her voice steady. EVA, begin the countdown. 10 seconds to quantum convergence, the AI announced. All ships in position. Crystal resonance at optimal frequency. Gravitic fields aligned. The space between the ships began to warp and twist as two vastly different approaches to manipulating reality combined into something entirely new. At the crucial moment, Chen and Vexthor gave the order simultaneously. The resulting phenomenon was beautiful and terrifying. A dance of light and gravity that bent space itself into an impossible knot. For a heart-stopping moment, it seemed as if reality might tear itself apart. Then, with a flash that temporarily blinded every sensor in the fleet, the anomaly collapsed in on itself and vanished. As systems came back online, EVA's voice broke the tense silence. Quantum rupture successfully neutralized, local space-time stabilizing. Also, the children are asking if we can do that again, but with different colors next time. Laughter, both human and Zaxian, filled the communication channels. Chen turned to her new allies. Well, that was exciting. I think this calls for a celebration. How do you feel about ice cream? EVA just perfected a new flavor called Quantum Swirl. Vexthor's scales shifted through colors of amazement, relief, and something new, genuine respect. Captain Chen, I believe we would be honored to learn about this ice cream. Though perhaps first, you could explain how your children can possibly consider this a normal science lesson. Oh, that's simple. Chen smiled. We believe the best way to learn is by doing. Speaking of which, would your crystal shapers be interested in joining our weekly advanced physics study group? The kids would love to learn about harmonic resonance patterns. And so, in the aftermath of averting disaster, two civilizations found themselves bound together, not just by their technological achievement, but by their shared curiosity about the universe, and by the universal appeal of ice cream after an exciting day. Would you like me to continue with Part 4? Cultural Exchange. Cultural Exchange. 3 weeks after the quantum anomaly incident, the human and Zaxian ships had arranged themselves in a loose formation that would have been unthinkable a month ago. The Curiosity's hydroponics bay had been temporarily converted into an impromptu cultural center, where members of both species gathered daily for what Captain Chen called getting to know you sessions. So, let me understand this correctly, Vexthor said, his scales shifting to a puzzled turquoise as he examined the holographic display. Your species intentionally invented thousands of different ways to prepare heated water with plant materials. That's tea for you, Chen smiled, pouring another cup of Earl Grey. And coffee is just the beginning. Wait until you learn about our hot chocolate variations. Nearby, a group of Zaxian crystal shapers sat cross-legged with human children, teaching them how to create simple harmonic patterns in small crystal shards. The children's attempts were clumsy but enthusiastic, filling the air with tinkling sounds that made the Zaxian scales ripple with amusement and delight. Remarkable, High Counselor Zixra observed, her scales now frequently showing the softer colors of curiosity rather than the harsh tones of authority. Your young ones grasp concepts in hours that take our apprentices years to master. Yet you let them experiment freely, without fear of failure. Dr. Kumar, who had been documenting the crystal shaping lessons for scientific analysis, looked up from its holographic notes. That's because we believe failure is just another word for learning opportunity, Speaking of which, EVA and I have been working on combining your crystal harmonics with our quantum field theory. The results are interesting. As if on cue, a shimmering pattern of light and energy danced through the hydroponics bay, making the plants sway to an invisible breeze. The Zaxian crystal shapers gasped as their own crystals responded, creating a symphony of light and sound that none of them had ever experienced before. Oops, EVA's voice chimed in. That was supposed to be a small demonstration. The quantum crystal resonance was more effective than calculated. Though I must say, the effect on the tomato plants is fascinating. They appear to be growing in 5 dimensions now. First Officer Keela, who had become particularly interested in human cuisine, examined the multidimensional tomatoes with professional interest. Would these still work in that pizza dish you showed us yesterday? Only one way to find out. Chen grinned. EVA, fire up the matter replication kitchen. I think it's time for a fusion cooking experiment. The following hours turned into an impromptu feast as humans and Zaxians collaborated on creating dishes that had never existed before. Quantum-enhanced tomatoes combined with crystal-resonated spices produced flavors that defied traditional physics. The children insisted on naming each new dish, resulting in delicacies like starlight spaghetti and hyperdimensional hash browns. Meanwhile, in another corner of the bay, a human musician had brought out an old acoustic guitar, its simple wooden construction fascinating the Zaxians who were used to purely energy-based instruments. As the musician began to play, several crystal shapers instinctively harmonized with their crystals, creating a blend of earth blues and alien harmonics that had everyone swaying. You know, Vexthor said quietly to Chen, his scales showing the deep green of revelation, we always thought advancement meant moving beyond physical instruments, beyond traditional cooking, beyond simplicity. Yet you humans keep these ancient practices alongside your most advanced technology. Chen nodded, sipping her tea. We found that moving forward doesn't have to mean leaving everything behind. Sometimes the oldest methods teach us the most about the future. The evening took an unexpected turn when one of the children asked about Zaxian games. This led to an impromptu tournament of a Zaxian strategy game similar to chess, but played with crystalline pieces that responded to the player's emotional states. The human's unpredictable playing style and EVA's tactical analysis led to entirely new strategies that left the Zaxian masters both baffled and intrigued. Your approach to everything is so unconventional, Zixra observed, watching a 7-year-old girl successfully challenge a Zaxian grandmaster. You take our most sacred traditions and treat them like fun, Chen suggested. That's because we believe understanding comes best through enjoyment. When you love what you're learning, you learn more deeply. As if to emphasize her point, a burst of laughter came from the crystal shaping lesson, where a child had accidentally created a crystal that told jokes in quantum harmonics. The Zaxian instructors, initially shocked, were now trying to figure out how to replicate the effect. Captain, EVA interrupted gently. The children's art project is ready for display. The lights dimmed, and suddenly the entire hydroponics bay was filled with floating artwork. Human drawings merged with Zaxian crystal patterns, creating 3-dimensional stories that danced through the air. Each piece represented a moment from the past weeks. The quantum anomaly battle rendered in crayon and crystal, portraits of new friends done in impossible colors, and dreams of future adventures captured in light and shadow. Well, Vexthor said, his scales showing a previously unseen pattern that somehow meant both happiness and hope. I believe the High Council's report on human civilization will require significant revision. Oh, Chen raised an eyebrow. And what will you tell them? That we have encountered a species that has mastered the most powerful force in the universe, the ability to find joy in discovery. And that perhaps, just perhaps, we have much to learn from those who serve quantum coffee alongside their stellar engineering lectures. Would you like me to continue with the final part? A new era. A new era. The Great Hall of the Zaxian High Council, had never seen anything quite like this day. Its ancient crystal walls, traditionally programmed to display the austere patterns of Zaxian authority, now shimmered with a combination of Earth auroras and Zaxian harmonics. The formal signing of the Human-Zaxian alliance was about to begin, but in typical human fashion, it had turned into something far more festive than the Zaxians had initially planned. I still can't believe we agreed to hold this ceremony in a, what did you call it, Captain Chen? High Counselor Zixra's scales sparkled with a mix of amusement and resignation. A block party, Chen replied, watching as human children and young Zaxians chased each other through holographic obstacle courses. We figured if we're going to start a new era of cooperation, we might as well make it fun. The Great Hall had been transformed. Alongside the traditional crystal pedestals stood matter replication stations serving an impossible variety of foods. EVA had coordinated with the Zaxian crystal mainframe to create interactive historical displays where visitors could experience key moments from both civilizations' histories. The quantum physics lecture series has been particularly successful, Dr. Kumar reported, gesturing to where a group of Zaxian scientists sat enthralled as a human child explained her theory about combining crystal harmonics with quantum entanglement. Though I'm a bit concerned about letting the children experiment with transdimensional physics during recess. Oh, that reminds me. EVA chimed in. The children's latest project is ready for demonstration. They're calling it the Bridge. A section of the Great Hall's floor transformed into a swirling vortex of energy and light. What emerged was a stunning combination of human creativity and Zaxian precision, a prototype for a new form of faster-than-light travel that used crystal harmonics to stabilize quantum corridors. Remarkable, Vex Thor said, his scales showing deep appreciation. They designed this during art class. Well, the finger painting session got a bit out of hand when someone suggested using quantum paint, Chen explained. Next thing we knew, they'd solved one of the fundamental problems of interstellar travel. Kids, you know. The formal alliance signing proceeded with all due ceremony, though the humans had insisted on adding their own touches. As the leaders of both civilizations approached the ancient crystal podium, a choir of human and Zaxian children performed a harmony that existed in 7 dimensions simultaneously. By the way, First Officer Kila whispered to Vexthor, "Did you hear about the cultural exchange program? 300 Zaxian families have already volunteered to host human children for the next academic year." Apparently, the promise of access to the zero-gravity water park was very persuasive. The actual signing was documented both in traditional Zaxian crystal records and in what the humans called a time-lapse TikTok video. As the final signatures were recorded, EVA and the Zaxian mainframe coordinated a display that turned the entire hall into a living star map, showing the combined territories of both civilizations and the endless possibilities that lay ahead. "You know," Zixra said privately to Chen, her scales showing a completely new color pattern that somehow represented both wisdom and humility. "When you first appeared in our space, we thought we would be teaching you about the universe. And instead, you taught us something far more valuable. That true advancement isn't measured by the complexity of our technology or the age of our civilization, but by our capacity to maintain wonder, to find joy in discovery, and to never stop learning." As if to emphasize her point, a small explosion of quantum confetti erupted from one of the science displays, accompanied by the sound of children's laughter and the harmonious tinkling of crystals. "Sorry," called out a young voice. "We were trying to calculate the exact frequency of fun." Chen laughed. "Well, there's your next research project, counselor. Though I should warn you, our scientists have been trying to quantify fun for centuries. The closest we've come is the combined effect of ice cream, water parks, and quantum physics experiments." The celebration continued long into the night, with stories being shared, games being played, and countless new friendships being formed. The once rigid crystal walls of the Great Hall seemed to pulse with new life, as if the very seat of Zaxian power had learned to laugh. And somewhere in the midst of it all, A young human girl taught a Zaxian elder how to make a proper paper airplane, while a Zaxian crystal shaper showed a human scientist how to sing to the stars. The future, it seemed, would be neither purely human or purely Zaxian, but something new and wonderful that combined the best of both. As the evening drew to a close, EVA made one final announcement. Attention all participants. The children have voted to name the first joint human-Zaxian space station, Friendship's Rainbow Quantum Sparkle Palace. The motion passed unanimously, primarily due to the promised inclusion of both a zero-gravity ice cream parlor and a crystal harmonics water slide. And so began a new chapter in galactic history, marked not by conquest or competition, but by the simple joy of different species coming together to explore the universe, and occasionally turning serious scientific principles into playground equipment.